through which agencies can actually assess themselves to see how well they're performing. And that tool has already been piloted in the Federal Road Safety Commission, in the Nigerian Communications Commission, in the Nigerian Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative. And if you look at the newspapers today, I think specifically The Guardian and Daily Trust, it will also be on our website shortly. We have placed an advertisement for consultants to help us further this pilot to about another 20 agencies. And so these are ways in which we're working to reshape the way our parastatals work, because many people, a lot of the previous reforms have focused inordinately, in my opinion, on ministries alone. Whereas the agencies are the ones that have the money, they are the ones that have the autonomy, they are the ones that are closest to the man and woman on the street. And if you look at any government, if the agencies are working, government is said to be working. If the agencies are not working, government is said not to be working. Nigerians interface more with the Federal Road Maintenance Agency than the Ministry of Works. They interface more with the Niger Delta Development Commission than the Ministry of the Niger Delta. So it's important that our agencies work. We're also collaborating with the Office of the Head of Service to put in place a new performance management system, which we will launch later this year. We've put in place a new structured mandatory training program for all public servants that for the first time is based on an assessment of the competences required to run a professional public service. So in a nutshell,
Dr. Abba, may I cut in very quickly?
Rocket science initiatives.
Yes,
we're going back to the basics.
Yes, let me cut in very quickly, because we have about 5 minutes now. But very quickly, give us about 2 minutes. Bring us up to speed on the Orosaye's report on the rationalization of the MDAs. Where are we?
Okay, well, the rationalization of the ministries have already happened, and that's when Mr. President reduced the number of ministries from 31 to 24 in November 2015. With regards to the rationalization of agencies and parastatals, as you know, the Orosoye report made a number of recommendations. That report was submitted in 2011. Government produced a white paper in 2014, which unfortunately rejected most of the recommendations in the Orosoye report. We feel that a lot of those were basically ministers protecting their turf at the time. And so with the coming of the new government, we've done a comprehensive review of both the Orosoye report itself and the white paper. Because don't forget that the Orosoye report is now about 5 years old. A number of things have moved on from that. As an example, he recommended the merger of EFCC, ICPC, and the Code of Conduct Bureau. We need to ask whether that recommendation is still sensible in today's climate. He recommended the merger of 3 aviation agencies. The International Civil Aviation Authority has advised that it is unwise to merge a regulator like the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority with a service provider like NIMET. And so all of those things we're looking at again to ensure that we don't do more harm than good. That review has been completed now. It's going to the Presidential Implementation Committee for its review, after which it will go to the Federal Executive Council. We expect that a revised, more realistic white paper will come out as a result.
Okay, very interesting lowdown you've given us. Sitting out here in the studio in Lagos, and I'm sure you've seen him on the program earlier. We have about 4 minutes, and I want him to weigh in very quickly on the public service and the private sector side. Pascal Odibo, who is the country CEO for J. O'Brien. Pascal, you've listened to Dr. Abba for about 10 minutes. Give us your thoughts on some of the things you've heard. How do you think these reforms being carried out will impact the private sector, maybe the banking sector?
Yeah, he spoke pretty well, and I mean, quite interesting in his perspective. But you know what I keep looking at? When I hear things like this, I'm going to ask, what is the global vision? What is the global vision? What are you reforming for? If you're reforming the public sector to be able to run its work, do its work, okay, or you're reforming the public sector in order to allow to be an enabler, the mindset will be different. They're totally different mindsets. And that is why it's key to understand where the political heads are headed. If you're a public sector driven individual, you will have a public sector that will allow the private sector to take on, to become captains and champions of growth. If, however, you are leaning towards the state managing, you will run the things you're going to reform to manage the things yourself.
Okay,
so you have to determine how
you're going to take that a bit as a question. We've got about 2 minutes to wrap this up, this conversation. Dr. Joe Abba, sitting there in Abuja, I'm sure you've heard Pascal Odibo's thoughts. What are you reforming for? What's the end game? What's the global picture? In 1 minute.
The end game is a richer, more prosperous, fairer, inclusive Nigeria. And so we must strike a balance between the growth driven by the private sector, which is absolutely right, and fairness and equity, which we must ensure exists within that growth. We've seen too many instances of inequitable growth driven by one sector of the economy alone. I think it's very, very important that government allows business to drive the economy, to create wealth for citizens, but also ensures that equity and inclusiveness is the watchword in that drive for growth.
Okay, Dr. Joe Abba, we thank you very much for your time today, Director General at the Bureau for Public Service Reforms. Thank you very much from Abuja for being on the program today. And Pascal Odibo, thank you very much for coming through. The country CEO at Jeff and O'Brien. We'll take a break.